Greetings, adventures and foodies, and welcome to Path of Exile 3.24 Necropolis, my Bleed Bow Gladiator League starter for you guys. So I played Bleed Bow Gladiator a few years back when Ritual was name of the game, and it was a blast. However, since then Gladiator have about changed nothing in this ascendancy, but every utility and every skill that I have used since then have been buffed, and if it was a blast back in the past, it sure is today. So without further ado, I'm gonna jump straight into it and let's get right into it. For this guide, I have made a little thing. I made a note first of all for you guys so you can read out instead of going back to my guide every time that you need to check something while leveling. This note should cover about most of your things that you want to know of, and other than that I have made specifically 5 different trees that you can go for. The trees that you can go for here are I made some first pointer that you should basically rush. I'm gonna quickly cover what I would pick, then I'm going to cover the medium tree, the entering maps tree, then I have a mid budget and a end game budget that includes cluster jewels here. If I could click. There we go. Of course, also next to this, I have a leveling setup, what you should pick up while leveling in the campaigns. Of course, you can fill in anything while leveling, also to make it more smooth. I have a mid setup. This is probably what you want to do to get like double 6 link whenever you can get this working, and 5 link and a 6 link is just fine also. And then, of course, you have a end setup, and of course you have I just pinned out a few items while leveling. And then of course you have the end game gear. This is some things that I've been sitting and tinkering around with, what you should aim for in the end. This is probably what you would want to end with. I've removed some modifiers from some items, so like for instance your gloves here, you want to craft fist damage, and you want to have things like chance to suppress spell damage and attack speed for the implicits, and for boots here you want bleed inflict faster. As we are bleed build, and faster we can inflict our total bleed, the better it is. So what is the expectation for the build? Well, let's just get the elephant out of the room. For pinnacle bosses and everything with bleeding and maim, and you are using your frenzy charges. Maim? Hello? Where's maim? Ah, there. Perfect. It's me blind. But what you can expect is one bleed can do around 1.5 million DPS. And remember, this is not you have to stand still and DPS. This is DPS. And there's a thing that you have to look at when looking at the DPS that you can expect from end game. This is like, it's always hard to say what is it in divines and whatnot, because this could be a 30 divine setup, and if it's popular, well then it can be 150 divines. So yeah, but basically expect this to probably be around, yeah, this again, it's dangerous to say this because it can fluctuate extremely much depending on the items and whatnot, but approximately 30 divines, I would say you can get something similar to 1.5 million. And the bleed you inflict here, as you can see, this is the calculation for it. It have a duration of 4 seconds at the given moment, so that means that you will have a one shot that takes 1.6 seconds, I believe it is, with puncture and snipe and everything ish for the calculation here. You have to stand still for 1.68 seconds and you will hit for like 1.5 million. The bleed duration should be around 4 seconds, so basically that means you can run around in circles for 4 seconds, and when, or 3 seconds, and when there's like 3 seconds elapsed, you can stop up and shoot a new arrow, meaning you can dodge some attacks, pop a bleed, run around in circles, and yada yada, so on. That's what you can expect for the end game. Now let's take a look at the leveling, what I would suggest here, and everything. Oops, I meant to click this. For leveling, I have put in a few items. Normally I wouldn't do this basically for leveling, but for you guys, what to look out for day 1 or day 2 of your league start here. I just want to get out and help you as much as I can with easy to things easy to look for items. Of course, you have the flask over here that I've prepared. So like charges when hit, and then you want a movement, a attack speed, a armor, evasion, and then just a granite, jade, quicksilver, and silver flask, because we are running a hybrid between armor and evasion rating, and then we are running a ton of spell suppression, basically. And that's our survivability together with life and just running in circles, never stopping. If you stop up and you start phase tanking, you're dead. Remember, after all, you are a bow build and not a melee physical build. That's also very important to note, even though you're a gladiator. So, but things to look out for would be a physical bow like this, and then you just scale it up as you go along. But basically you want to look for mods like physical damage as percentage and flat physical and the chance to bleed modify, because that often come with increased damage with bleeding. If you have something like damage over time on a bow, that also benefits your bleed, so that can also go in and help you immensely. I'm just going to show a end game bow that I stole off PoE Ninja. This one exactly. It has ton of flat physical, it have ton of percentage increase phys, bleed, and physical dot over time multiplier. This is kind of like the end game, but yeah. Just take these notes here and scale them up, and then add phys dot as multi, and then go along with that. For the quiver here, for leveling, you just want to go with flat phys, life, and whatever resistance you can get. And if you can afford it, because normally these hemophilia, the serpent scaled gauntlets, they're dead cheap. And of course you can get increased damage over time. The attack has chance to cause bleeding, that's kinda so-so. But then of course you have increased attack against blinded enemies, and bleeding enemies you kill explode, dealing 5% of their max as physical damage. For start, these gloves are great, not for the end, because it has 25% reduced bleed duration. That doesn't mean faster inflict. Reduced duration just takes, so like say you deal more damage the longer the bleed lasts in total, because it's a DPS. This reduces the total amount, and not because it goes faster with inflicting, but it reduces the total amount it takes. So this is kind of like a bummer to note to get on gloves. So whenever you can, of course, at end gear here, you want to get just some armor evasion and get suppression and attack speed, and just get physical damage and armor, life, energy shield. Life and resistances for it. Then of course a mark of submission. I've also put this in, as you will basically just slot in a vulnerability and you are good to go until you can afford to get one ring that has the mod saying cursed enemies with vulnerability on hit. You can etc. get this in Delve if you enjoy doing Delve. So yeah, getting a mark of submission should be fairly easy for a couple of KS. And normally I'm just gonna show quickly on PoE Ninja what the prices for these are. So if you take a look at the hemophilia, normally they're like maximum of 10 KS in the first couple of days, and then they drop to like 5 and 4 and 3 and whatnot in the coming days. A medium budget you could opt for this instead would be if you can find a corrupted pair with vulnerability. Normally they go for like a divine. I've seen them around that price in other leagues. Divine Exalted. These are really great to just swap in a few days into the league, or just 1 to 2 days into the league. And for the mark of submission, here, if we click this, if I just go down, and you can see it's 2 KS and then immediately drops to 1 KS. So you can also fairly quickly expect to get this if you just get to the Blood Aqueducts and just run 1 to 2 runs you often have for a KS recipe, and you can just trade in for 2 KS and basically instant buy this off the trade at that point. So yeah, enjoy with those. Very easy to get Unix. They drop a ton, so yeah, also the market should be flooded with those, so they really gonna help you get into an early game, and really gonna help you alleviate some of the early game maps with the e-smoke, because if you just hit a guy with vulnerability, they just take more physical damage. So yeah, it's just basically a huge damage multiplier for you. For the leveling, you want to pick up Split Arrow. The second you get from Strand and get into town, then you have a chance to, I can't remember if you can get it, but otherwise you can buy Chance to Bleed off the get-go. And then as you move on, you want to get Pierce and Mirage Archer. When you can get Chain instead of Pierce, pick up Chain. So whenever you can get Chain, replace Pierce. That's 38, I believe it is. And that's gonna really take Split Arrow up a notch in clearing instead of just Pierce. Moving on to the main attack, or your main attacking skill, is basically Snipe, which you can get at 34, and together with Puncture. Puncture you can get as a duelist at level 4, as written in the notes. Breaking some X will give you this, and this is basically a dot skill that you can get right off the get-go without any trouble at all. And then, of course, level 16 here, as you can see from Act 2, you can get Ensnaring Arrow together with Frenzy, and you will link it with Mana Forged Arrow. And this is just going to ensure that you have Frenzy charges, you have your target ensnared, and you have this going off automated all the time. And then you want utility like Vitality and Blink Arrow and whatnot you can get. The reason we're going Vitality and not for the Clarity, you can't go Clarity in the start. I would normally just have a Mana Potion in the start and then just chuck it away whenever we get to this note saying skills cost life instead of mana. For the first point, I would suggest rushing down, getting out of the Gladiator, Bravery, just to get some life, get some armor evasion, get more life, and this basically gives you ignore movement penalties from armor, attack speed, global attack rating, and some dex. Other than that, you will rush over to life and mana, and then go down for the Golem's Blood and Life Mastery. Then you will go for the Blade Chance if you feel that you're A-okay with life, of course. Wait with Golem Blood and just go for the Chance to Bleed here. But you have Puncture, and Puncture is going to be your single target ability. So it's going to be so easy for you to just tap down bosses. This is kind of more important to have a bit of survival in my book, because most things are going to die so fast anyway. But you want to go for the, and that's important to remember, you want to go for the Chance to Bleed here. Because in the early game, you do not have this yet, which gives you 50% chance to cause bleeding. Meaning, you have to get your bleed chance up somehow in order to to cause more bleeds. If you don't make people bleed, you're not dealing a lot of damage with Split Shot. That's the harsh reality. If you feel that after you picked up this wheel right here, and you picked up this wheel, but you're starting to lack damage, you can go for these settings right here. That should close to double your DPS with a few points. So if you ever start like you feel, I'm starting to lack damage, just pick these up. We're gonna get them anyways in our mid leveling, as you can see. It all depends what your preference are. I would just take these if I feel I'm running low on damage, basically. Other than that, you can rush down here, get Bloodless, and then get the Life Mastery for skills cost life instead of 30% in mana cost. You could also swap these around and wait with 50 life. I personally wouldn't. Then you just rush up, get Resolute Technique, get Savage Wounds, and whenever you have the skills cost life as mana, that means for our mid-leveling tree here, there we go. I forgot to put that in. You can pick this up. Cannibalistic Right. Apparently I mixed these up. There we go. But yeah, you can go for the Cannibalistic Right, which reduces life cost of skills. You recover life if you spend life recently whenever you kill, and we're going to do that a ton, so this is going to be great for sustain. And it increases the damage with skills that cost life, which we also use because of this little note here. Other than that, at this mid tier, you will also branch down to Dirty Techniques and Damage Over Time multiplier. Of course, I have to remember to say you can get this increased bleed duration, and of course you will get the Gratuitous Violence, Gratuitous, or whatever it's called. And then you will also start with you will have the Chance to Bleed, of course, and you will then start to swap your cause bleeding chance to Damage Over Time, because you will have enough chance to bleed already. And as mentioned, you will pick up Deadly Draw and you will pick up this wheel over here. It is not 100% necessary to get these, so you can skip these if you don't want to use them. And if you feel like you're starting to run low on intellect or dexterity or anything like it, you can just pick these notes up here, not dex, but most likely intellect you're gonna run a bit lower. You can just pick this up for easy strategic location. Other than that, you will pick up some extra life note and you will branch out and get Vanquisher right here for increased physical damage and crush when they are on full life, and it gives fist damage over time, so that's also pretty neat. Other than that, you're not gonna get anything from the bleed note here, so don't get baited by that. And of course, down here we picked up bleed duration, as you can remember earlier I mentioned with the hemophilia. So longer bleeds is better in the case that basically the DPS stays the same, but it is applied longer, and then if you can get faster inflict, that takes the total time, brings it down, but the same number. So that's kind of like a balance thing, let's call it that. And that's for the mid-leveling tree. You should be 58, you shouldn't be at maps at this level yet, but then as you enter maps, as you can see here, you have picked up things like mana efficient reservation. You can do that prior. Of course, you picked up the stance reservation, as we are going to be grabbing things like the arena challenger at some point. We picked up the aura wheel down here. Then we went ahead and gotten the juggernaut this time around. Some extra life here. You can skip this if you don't want to. And then we went ahead and got the tireless, and we anointed, sorry, not anointed, but we got the physical mastery for more maximum physical damage. You could also opt to, I think we're just gonna put this in because it's a ton of damage, but you could also just pick it up here. Yeah, this is how your tree should look whenever you enter maps. And moving forward, because this is just entering maps 72, so that's approximately like 20 levels later than the mid. Moving on to the mid budget, so this is like you enter maps and you start progressing through your white and yellow tier. By the end of yellow tier, starting red tier, this is probably what you would be wanting to look at. And of course for the mid setup, this is also where you want to be able to swap already at entering maps. You kind of want to have this setup right here, not everything, because of course there's enlighten in it, so you can't pick up everything. Just remove determination for a start. I just have some damage because it's of course I'm not making this a hardcore viable guide, so yeah, moving on. But this is the setup. This is nothing's changed down here. Picked up some more life note for you, and you basically want to see how fast you can pick up a inspired learning. This is going to give you a ton of more clear speed, and more clear speed means more mapping equals more fun with the new Necropolis mechanic. And then you want to move on to the veteran soldier, the relentless, and you pick up Constitution and Path of Warrior. And that's basically it. Then you're level 88, and from here on it will be tweaks and twerks. But whenever we get to endgame, this is where you're gonna start spending a ton of currency. This is where you're going to be using quite a lot of items and everything. So for once, Enlighten level 3, etc. You can get a level 4 and everything if you start tweaking. But then if you reach a point where you can afford a Enlighten level 4, I'm not sure you really need my guide here. But that's another point. But basically you want to anoint sovereignty up here, which requires 3 silvers, and then of course you want to get a unnatural instinct. This is going to be hella expensive, but basically it will allocate small, it will do some small passive skills. So the small, that's the orange circle that you can see, which goes around here. They will do absolutely nothing for you, like the notables. So this one and this one will do nothing. However, all the small passives around here, so like this will do nothing, this will do this will do nothing, and this will do nothing. But all the small passives grant all the bonuses. That meaning attack damage, and everything, and dex. But most importantly, we get all these notes here, right here. And that's gonna give us a ton of points to save. And then moving on, we are getting cluster jewels, and that's where like 50% of all your damage come from as a bleed bow gladiator. Basically any bleed build at the given state of the game, that's cluster jewels. But basically something like battle hardened or master of fundamentals, something like a large cluster jewel here with this damage and 8 passive, 2 sockets. And then you want something like Battle Hand or Master Fundamentals, and same up here, basically. You can also get for Furious Assault and whatnot, but it really depends on what you get. Just the most important thing is you have an 8, it has 2, and 2 dual sockets, of course. Then you want to branch in and get stuff like Wasting Affliction for increased damage with ailments, which is bleed, and it deals damage faster, is what I talked about earlier. And you basically want to get a duplicate of this, as you can see here. So like a 5 passive that gives increased damage over time, and it gives Student of Decay, which is this one, which also gives chaos resistance and damage over time, so that's great. And then you want the Wasting Afflictions, basically a duplicate of this. And lastly, you want, of course, Forbidden Flesh jewels. And we are not allocating the Fortitude. We're allocating Inspirational for more effect, for more damage, and you could opt for going for Fortitude and whatever you can afford. Yeah, that's totally viable to go for whatever you can afford. This could also be a thing, Brutal Fervor, but personally I'd go for Inspirational. More damage. Banner skills have no reservation and everything, so there's a few things that's really nice for that. Other than that, up here we haven't changed much except for this. We have removed Constitution and all the wheel over here. Then what you can opt for, if you really want to start min-maxing, is you can start like tinkering with what you picked up and everything and start deselecting a few things here and there, and yeah, there's a few things you could go about and start tinkering with. And then my last suggestion would be for any gamers. If you get to this point, you can pick this up right here. Of course, you're gonna need some small points, but you're gonna find that somewhere in your tree, someplace, somehow. But I would get one of those glorious vanity, I think they call them, one of the timeless jewel. I can never remember which one it is, but I would get a jewel right here, one with a large cluster that transforms these, and I believe there's one that does increased damage over time by 50%, and one that does increased physical damage by 80%, and something like along those lines. So that's going to be something that could take you from like 1.5 and all the way up to a bit over 2 million bleed DPS. So yeah, and that's my Gladiator. Go bleed Gladiator for you guys. Of course, as mentioned, you have all the leveling sections down here and all the way to the top. You have the skills and the leveling. You have the items, what just to look for in here. And then, of course, I'm gonna leave my POB in the description down below, so you can, of course, find it. And, of course, you can also find all my tips and tricks for the early stages of leveling. I've written them down, so like with gems, what to do with split shot, what to do with puncture, the tree itself, what I would rush bravery, life, mana leech, and then go for bleed chance and later respec into some damage node. Right, it's these two, sorry. Those are the nodes you will want to hold on a minute, haven't I unspicked? Yeah, I have, sorry, it's me blabbering away. But yeah, basically you want to go for the bravery, life leech, mana, then go for bleed chance, and then rush up to resolute technique. If you lack damage, as mentioned, get the heavy draw, deadly draw, that's these two down here. And then other than that, just have a fun time. It's a marathon, and it's not gonna be a sprint with this build because it's not a lightning arrow. Let's get real here. But it's pretty fun and it's pretty smooth. I know that several people have done this in solo self-found environment. Specifically, MBX Dream has made a run with it a few weeks back or a week back or something, if you guys know him. Big PoE streamer. And he did extremely well with it, and he said it was really smooth, so I trust in his word also, but I remember it being extremely smooth when I played it a few years back, so it can only have gotten better at that time. I've made this copy-paste that you can just take and copy-paste it in, because you want to look for a green, green, red in the start, and you can use this to search in vendors, and this is going to be for a 10%, and this is going to be a 15% movement speed boots. And then of course you want to look for a green setup, and you could opt for like, let me just fix this. Oh my god, right, perfect. So there you should have it. This should basically help you out whenever you go for it. When you're looking for 4 links and they start to drop, you want to get a green, red. And of course, whenever I will have a loot filter ready, I am working currently on making a Discord server for everyone to join. I am still trying to figure out roles and everything and trying to make it pop up so whenever I make new videos and I'm live and everything, you guys can follow along. Other than that, I am in the process of making channels for everyone. Both for Ascension, if you guys want to watch that, Path of Exile, and I'm gonna make more as time goes on. So for now, I think that was it for my Bow Bleed Gladiator. If you liked the guide, if you liked the video, please remember to subscribe and like the video and share it with your friends. If you know somebody who might like to play Bleed Bow Gladiator, make sure to send them this. And without further ado, this boomer turning out for his first video. Stay sane, Exiles.